I guess my sport of choice is CrossFit, but I've always really enjoyed just having a crack at everything. Pretty much everything I do, I'll do for the experience. And if there's an experience that I feel like is challenging, mentally and physically, I want to have a go.
When I first found out about James's accident, it was probably one of the worst 24 hours of my life. The thing with James is he doesn't do anything in halves.
Pretty much everything that I've ever done, if I haven't been stoked with my result and I like it enough, I'll work harder to make myself good at it.
What are we cooking up, bro?
Okay. I'll do some oats.
Nice.
Some oats. Some peanut butter on there. Some sourdough.
How you feeling, mate, alright?
Warm up swim, ready to go.
Come on.
Hopefully there's some sharks. For Giles.
They'll go for the Irish, man, don't worry.
They'll smell it.
Smell the Irish.
It's like going abroad, you're not going to get the same food, you're going to go for something different, like Irish steak. You're not going to go for Aussie kangaroo.
He doesn't like sitting on the sidelines, he doesn't like playing it safe. He loves to push himself, and I don't want to say that I expected something like this to happen, but it was kind of not really a surprise to me.
A few friends and I, we decided to go mountain biking, and it was just for we were going to do a road ride, and we said, oh, why don't we just take the mountain bikes out and do some downhill? And we were just going to take it easy, go out for a couple of hours, and we'd all done maybe 2 or 3 runs each, and I was coming down on another person's bike and hit a corner a little bit too fast and overshot the corner. And as I overshot the corner, I tried to correct it. And as I corrected, I was heading towards a tree, hit some loose dirt and gravel, went over the handlebars. My hands kind of stayed attached to the bike and came off last second. And yeah, basically just hit the base of this tree with my head. Cracked the helmet pretty bad. It didn't knock me out, but I did lose sight for maybe 4 or 5 seconds and landed on the ground, thought I was really winded, thought I was fine, was just laying there and thought, oh, I just need a second to regain composure. And had a mate come around the corner and he was just like, oh, you okay, you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine, I'm just winded, like, go on. And he's like, no, you need to get up. I'm just like, no, I need a minute, I can't get up. I could move my feet, move my hands, so in my head I thought, oh, my back's fine, which was the first thought. I thought like my neck would have been pretty bad. It was a pretty hard hit.
I was about to go for a swim. I just rocked up at the pool, and every time James goes out on the bike, I'm a little bit concerned until I get a call from him saying that he's home. I'm a bit of a stressor as well. He likes to push the boundaries, sometimes not a great combination. So I arrived at the pool and I got a phone call from Stas, one of our friends, and James was on loudspeaker and he was like, hey babe, it's James here. I'm fine, but I've had a crash and I'm going to the hospital.
Like playing football back in the day, like I've taken a few fairly hard knocks, and this one was pretty rough, and a couple of car accidents, and this one was like physically quite like bone sort of shaking. And I tried to move and my back was really stiff. My rhomboids were really stiff. Everywhere up my back just felt tight. My intercostals felt really tight and latched on, and my traps felt really tight and latched on. And I thought, oh, maybe I have done some damage. And then I finally pushed myself up into a push-up position off my knees and stood up. And when I stood up, it felt like I needed to stay really stiff and straight. And so I walked with the guys that were with me. They stayed with me and it was like, oh, let's kind of pack it up and go home. And I was really stiff. I got down to the car, felt a little bit crook. And then they're just like, oh, we should whip you over to the hospital. And I was like, oh, so I think I'm fine. I think I just might have maybe a bit of a concussion.
And he sounded cool, calm and collected. But in my heart, I kind of could hear in his voice that something wasn't quite right. And so I was like, what do you mean, what happened? And he's like, oh, I just fell off my mountain bike and I hit a tree. But I've just got a couple of scratches, so I'm just getting checked up. And he's like, you go for your swim and come pick me up later and I'll be probably ready to go home basically when you finish the swim. And I was like, I don't think that you're gonna go. Like I said, I don't really want to do my swim. I'd prefer to just come and make sure everything's okay. And he was like, no, don't worry about me. I'll be fine. Go to your swim and just call me later. So I hung up the phone and I sat in the car and I was like, there's no way that my boyfriend's going to hospital and I'm going to go and do this training session.
And then we called a nurse friend of a partner that was riding with us, and she said, "Hey James, how are you? Like, how you feeling?" And I just said, "Oh yeah, I'm all right." And she goes, "Go to the hospital." So if I'm not like, "Yeah, I'm totally fine," she was like, "Yeah, go to the hospital." So.
This looks great.
Nice to see you.
Good friend. When you guys are still transitioning out of your wetsuits. This calf. Out there, I guess so. Around the four rectangles twice, and then back into this thing without you.
Shall we swim?
I feel like a penguin. Like that's why I said I can't wait till we get into the water because I have to pee.
And then you look like a penguin going in.
Yeah, I know.
Like
Doesn't pee attract sharks? I'm gonna pee in front of you, so that the shark.
So we have a practice swim. So we have to learn how to swim today before we do the Ironman tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we have a little shark netted area just here where we can swim without fear of sharks, but tomorrow the sharks are out and there's no nets. So after we learn how to swim today, then we'll have some brekkie, go for a bike ride, and then be ready to go tomorrow.
We went to the hospital, found it really hard to get out of the car, and then they sat me in a wheelchair, asked me how I was feeling. I gave them the lowdown and said I'm probably pain-wise maybe 6 out of 10. And so I just kind of sat in the emergency waiting to be seen for about maybe 2 hours.
So I went to the hospital and met him in the emergency room, and he was white as a ghost and stiff as a brick wall, basically. He was sitting in a wheelchair, and I said to him, like, "Are you okay?" And he was like, "Yep, I'm fine. I've just got a couple of, scratches and I'm a bit winded." And we all kind of knew that maybe there was something a little bit more serious than just a couple of scratches and winded. And then one of the nurses came up to him and said to him, "What's your pain on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being comfortable and 10 being I want to die?" And James was, we all joke about it now because James was like 6, but we reckon that he was like basically at kind of the end of his pain threshold, but gave a 6, which most people would probably in that instance be like, I'm a 10. And I think because of his cool, calm and collected nature, he wasn't treated as an emergency in the emergency room. So we waited there for, I reckon it was about 2 to 3 hours before he finally got let in.
And they finally got me in, and I was lying there and it was really stiff and sore, and I was like, I'm going to be really sore tomorrow. And then I just thought I'm going to have some bruising maybe, and I'll be going home that night. And then they put me in a CT scan, scanned me, came back and just said, "Oh, we're going to move your room." And then I heard one of the nurses say, "Oh, we're also going to put him on oxygen." And I was like, oh, if they're moving me room and I'm going on oxygen, obviously they know that there's something up.
When we were let into the emergency room, basically from that moment until the next 5 days, James was put on a high spinal precaution, which means that he was not allowed to move. So the fact that he was, it didn't really add up. He shouldn't have been allowed to be sitting in that wheelchair. He should have basically gone straight into a bed and laid down. But because he was so resilient and so, he doesn't want to put people out as well. Like he hates to be a burden, even when he's in emergency.
I said, "Oh, well, do you know what's wrong?" And they're just like, "Well, yeah, we know what's wrong." I was like, "Well, you can tell me, it's fine." And it's like, "Okay, you've got like two broken ribs, you have a punctured lung, you have a pneumothorax, so a bit of air in the chest cavity outside of the lung, and T2, T3 spinal process fractures."
I don't think I've ever heard James in the amount of pain that he was in that day, on that first day of being in emergency when they needed to move him around for the x-rays. So he had to be moved on a massive board. That was the only way they could get him around because he's such a big guy. And in order to do that, they had to kind of flip his body up. And I've never heard James scream out in pain as much as he did when he was being moved. And so We were hoping for the best. We said, you know, oh, it's probably just a bit of bruising, and we were trying to be positive about it because as a full-time athlete, the last thing you want is broken bones, especially in your back.
The instant thing I thought is, 1, I can't finish the Open. 2 is like I'm not going to Dublin. And 3, I won't be able to do this Ironman that I've been looking forward to so much. And I was sitting there, and I was asking the doctors, oh, how long do you think it'll be until I can train? And they were just like, we need to like get through you being out of hospital before we can even think about that. I'm just like, what's the go-to time? And it was like 6 to 8 weeks. And I was like, 6 to 8 weeks. Well, that kind of definitely counts out the Open. I can't lift any weights. And that kind of counts out Dublin Filthy 150 because I can't lift weights. But I wonder if I could get back to swimming, biking and running.
This is actually what happened to Dave. We all registered 3 months ago for this to do the full. And then we said, everyone should come at least do the half. And then Dave was too lazy to register at that point in time. And he tried to register about 5 days ago and they said, sorry, we've sold all of our 70.3 spots. We only have 140.6, so full distance Ironman. He's like, thank you, I'll just register for that. And he hasn't trained.
How you feeling, bro? All good?
Fun, absolutely fine. These things are all mental. This is the thing. There's a bit of a fallacy that goes around that says you have to be really fit or X, Y, Z to do all these Ironman things.
You have a lot of mental fortitude?
Yeah. It's just about your attitude. Like if you think you're going to win it, you're in big trouble. If you think that you're going to do it in 17 hours, you're fine. So just set your target at an appropriate level and then accomplish. And you do any better than 17 hours, then good on you. But people that do Ironman, they like to think it's really tough, but it's really just a bike ride and a swim and a walk. That's all it is. And if you walk faster and you start running, good on you. But
you can cut that out, Bakey. The rest of it was good. Oh, have you had the hydration test? We should get the hydration test on here.
Let's do it.
Hello. Are you still doing the hydration test? Yes. Oh, yes. I'd love to do it.
Have you done it before?
I did it yesterday.
Okay.
I was 48 yesterday, so I was...
Alright, you ready? We'll switch with your... Awesome.
Come on.
$39.
Better.
That's better?
Good.
Yeah.
What you were yesterday?
48.
Yeah. Awesome. All ready to start.
This is also like the 70.3 packet, so I don't know if it's like different for you guys. You guys would have got a different one. But that's all that was based off of.
I don't even know what is in my transition bag. I don't even know what I want in there. Oh, we've got plenty of time. So I'm gonna have to get the gels. Get the gels.
Hey Sam, I think because we're doing the long, we might have to check our transition bags in. We've got plenty of time, we just have to get them together. Mine's together. Oh good, perfect. Mine is not together.
Can't digest the bad number and it's impossible.
2, 3,
Just chewing.
I've just used these before, so I've had these ones before, and they do have a bit of extra sodium in them too, just for the extra electrolytes. But they also do have a good amount of carbohydrates in them as well. So I think each bar is about 30 grams or 23 grams of carbs, 9 grams of fat, 4 grams of protein. And then I've used these gels before as well. At the games, I use the same gels on longer events, like the marathon run. And I just really like how much extra sodium they tend to have, because I did a salt test and I drop around about 1100 milligrams every hour if I'm fully sweating like crazy. So just want to try and, as much as I possibly can, keep them up.
during the effort. I think nutrition for such a long event is probably going to be the biggest key. But I'll put these staged on my bike so I don't have to worry about putting them down. But I'll pull all of these, try and get these maybe in my bike as well.
Yeah, these are like socks. Oh, it's getting rude, guys.
Well, that didn't fit as much as I first thought. That should be right. Okay, they are good to go. They can go in there.
Even after James got that diagnosis, he was saying to me, I'll probably be home tonight. Like, they'll probably let me home tonight. He rang his mum, he's like, hey mum, I'm in hospital, I'm fine, but I'll come visit you tomorrow morning. And I was sitting there thinking that that's not gonna happen. But hey, like, you know, all for positivity.
I love my recovery. So it kind of, you know, I wasn't super upset. I'm just like, I'm going to see this as a bit of a challenge, see how fast I can heal, a little bit of heal for time, but also heal for quality as well.
And he kept saying to me, go home, go back to life and, you know, get your training in and stuff like that. But for me, I didn't want to be anywhere else except by his side. You know, if I was at work or if I was training, all I'd want to be doing is being with James. And he was getting so many updates on a daily basis as well. I wanted to be there, partly because I needed to know what was going on, and also secondly because knowing James, he would have put a positive spin on the story and been like, nope, I'm fine, I can start training again tomorrow, whereas I wanted to hear it from the horse's mouth, i.e. the doctors, you know, when they gave the diagnosis and stuff like that. So yeah, we were there for 5 days, getting new x-rays every day, and he was finally able to leave on, actually I think it was day 4, not day 5. He left on day 4.
I spent 4 days in hospital, and then when I got out, I just wanted to get back on the bike. They said don't lift over 2 kilos for a period of time until you come back and see us. They cleared me for spinal, all that type of stuff. They said you can't fly, so I was on a flight ban because of the punctured lung. And so I didn't do anything that really hurt. I jumped back on the trainer on the 6th day. On the bike trainer, I did an hour and that felt fine. The hardest part was moving from aero position up to seated position, but getting into being in a position was fine. So I biked an hour the first day, biked 2 hours the second day, biked 3 hours the third day. And then I think the 4th day I did 5 hours. And I thought, oh, I can bike, which is great. And if I had to, I would be able to go and ride on the road.
We came home and it was a pretty rough couple of days to start with. James wasn't able to do a lot of things by himself. So the first couple of days I had to help him do some pretty basic things like get out of bed. Throughout the night, he'd take painkillers, or if he needed to go to the toilet, I had to go around and grab his hand and pull him out of bed, which was pretty hard. He's not a light boy by any means. So it was a little bit difficult, and you can't just yank someone who's got a broken back out of bed. So there was a bit of a challenge in that. And because it was so painful for him to get out of bed, I wouldn't let him go to the toilet. So I grabbed a 2-litre milk carton and put it by the side of his bed, and I was like, this is your toilet for the next couple of days. And I changed that kind of as and when was needed. And made sure that he was on top of his, pain med schedule, because he got home and he was like, I don't want to take any pain medications, which I completely, I think that it's a great kind of attitude to have, but at the same time, with a broken back, it's not something that you really, I guess, want to feel. It's probably quite painful. So the first day we had minimal pain medication, and then the first night he was in so much pain that I said, no, we're putting you back on pain meds. He was meant to fly out to Brisbane for Torian that Friday, and he was adamant on doing it, but then we ended up getting a letter from the doctor saying that he had a flight ban for 6 weeks. We've pushed it, we're at Busselton now 5.5 weeks later. And
next thing I wanted to test was what it felt like to jog. And so I went for a jog. I did 2.5 kilometers. It was a little uncomfortable around the ribs, but manageable at that point in time. I definitely thought, no, I couldn't probably hook a marathon. It'd be very uncomfortable. So then all I thought during that period of time is, how am I going to heal myself as fast as possible? So basically, I write a working in program anyway for my clients to help speed recovery from exercise, which I really believe in and think it helps a lot, even if it's just mentally for a lot of people. Even if some of the things people think is a bit of voodoo, I really think mentally it can make you feel good. And if you feel good, that's, it's a step in the right direction.
I can't tell you how shocked I am at how quickly he's recovered. And to think that he had a broken back 5.5 weeks ago blows my mind. It's crazy. A couple of days later, we got home and he's like, I'm gonna ride on the bike. And I love to play it safe. So I was strongly you know, encouraging him to relax and to look after himself, but it's not in his personality. He doesn't like to, it was hard enough for him to not do anything for 5 days. So I think after maybe about a week, he got back on the stationary bike. But the thing with James, and the thing that, you know, left me with peace, is that I trust him. I know he'll make the right decision. He's not stupid. He's not going to do anything that's going to affect his body in the long term just for short-term gains. With that in mind, I was confident that he was never going to do anything that was going to affect his long-term health. But he was certainly going to do as much as he could, whereas another person might take every opportunity to just relax for 6 weeks, whereas that was not on his agenda.
I basically would get up and I would spend, instead of spending 4 to 5 hours training a day, I would spend those 4 or 5 hours working in. And it would consist of getting up, having a sauna, having really good quality food, really good quality water, spending some time breathing to alkalize the system, getting as much oxygen into my system as possible to help me heal, getting out in the sun every day from day one, once I could leave the bed from the hospital, making sure I got down the beach twice a day, did a lot of earthing, did a lot of, I said breath work, but then, a lot of sleep. Sleep was one of the key things. I was sleeping about 10 hours a day and then napping during the day as well. And we set a time schedule. I'd go to sleep at about 1:30, 2 o'clock and try and sleep for 90 minutes to 2 hours, and forcing myself to sleep. But funnily enough, even though normally I'll do an 8-hour sleep at night time or a 9-hour sleep and then be good to go all day long, most of the time, nap when I can. But I think because my body was trying to heal, it was just like, no, you can sleep. And I was able to sleep 12 to 14 hours a day. Like, it just allowed me to do that, which was great. And I think that was one of the biggest contributors. But I was really diligent with making sure that I got out in the sun, got fresh air, got down the beach, got in the ocean.
So every day he did a little bit more. He went for his first run with me, and we ran at my pace, which for him is quite slow. And he said, you know, he had to kind of stay quite rigid with his spine. But yeah, things came back. His recovery was phenomenal. So going from spending 8 hours in the gym, he was able to take that chunk of time and just dedicate it towards his recovery, which I think a lot of people don't have. So that really helps as well, that he had so much time to be able to dedicate to getting better.
I went down the ocean on probably the 9th or 10th day after the accident, and I was still at only maybe 50 or 60% of a breath in, and then it'd get to a point where my chest would get really tight and it'd pinch, and I wouldn't be able to take a breath higher than that, or it'd feel like something would explode. And then I went in the water, and where we are situated, we're only about 150 meters from the beach, so it's super convenient. But a wave was coming for me, and we usually don't have a lot of waves, so I didn't anticipate a wave. A wave started rolling in, and I'm looking around, and I looked back to the shore, and I was like, I'm not going to make it back. I'm going to have to take this wave. And at that point, I was still quite stiff, so I couldn't really run or do anything or dive under the wave. And so I kind of let the wave just kind of get me on the chest, and it kind of hit me with a little bit of impact. And as it hit me, I kind of just sunk back and went with the wave and went underwater, and I got a bit of a cold shock. And before my head went under the water, I think it made me take maybe quite a sharp breath, and I felt a big pop in my chest, like it was a really big pop. And I was just like, okay, well, I'm either about to be in a lot of pain, or I'm about to die, or I'm going to be able to breathe properly again. And I got up and I took a full 100% exhale, and it was one of the most satisfying feelings. I even yelled out to Kayla, I was like, Kayla, I can breathe. And yeah, so that was a big step in the right direction for the healing process. After 7 days, I went back into the hospital for a checkup scan. My lungs were pretty well good to go. They didn't show any sign of disruption there. They couldn't see the tear that they saw the first time, or the hole, whatever it was. And then I went back for my 2.5 week x-ray on my brakes, and they said we couldn't see any fractures anymore. And I just contributed to just doing the right things, sleeping a lot, eating good food, getting out in the sun every day, getting a bit of sun exposure, whether or not people like it or not. Earthing, I think it helped a lot, especially for the pain, and just making yourself feel good. Jumping in the float tank, which I could do once I could sit myself up. I jumped in the float tank, and then sauntering twice a day. That really made a big difference. And the other thing was getting back on the bike, like getting a bit of movement and not just laying in bed for a month, which I think once people get injured tend to want to do is just lay in bed. but I think that's probably one of the things that, you know, it's safe, but it slows it down, I think. I think if you could get out and get moving, then that really went a long way to helping me recover so fast. And right before I got that scan to say that my fractures had, you know, kind of disappeared, I was already back doing 3 hours on the bike, 3Ks in the open water, and an hour run. By that point, I was at the 2-week mark, and I felt fine doing that.
Helmets tomorrow. Helmets tomorrow.
This way.
Helmets tomorrow.
Good to go. Good to go, I think. I think we just wait in the shade until our tour. So at the moment, we've just checked our bikes in, and we've put our bags for our bike transition and our run transition. Now we're waiting for a tour of our transition station. So basically they're going to take us through, show us where we come in from the swim, or where we enter the swim, where we come in for the swim, where we pick up our bike, where we exit, and then when we come in from our bike, grab our bags for our run, put our running gear on, and then exit for our run. So basically taking us through the process of tomorrow. I think it takes about half an hour, but there's actually a lot more to it than what I first expected. And then trying to put your kit together and remember that you got gels for your bike, gels for your run, gels for your back, gels for your everything else, and then making sure if you want socks for your run, socks for your ride, if you don't want them, you put them in a different bag. It's just like, it's actually pretty intense. And I think we're actually up to do our thing now. Hey dude, how you going? Good.
Have a good one, mate.
Yeah,
You're going to love this.
Yeah,
right up your alley.
I can't wait. It's going to be great.
Here you go for it.
Thanks, mate.
If anyone wants to know.
Okay, so we'll take your left hand turn here, and this is where I ask you as girls to concentrate as well. This is where you've got to work out where your bike is. Lots of people lose their bikes in Ironman and all kinds of triathlons, so remember which row you're on.
The front of the rack is for the best riders, and that's why I'm at the back of the rack. The front's at that end.
I don't know what's happening. Yeah. I don't know where to go, but I'll figure it out.
You've been paying attention. We can leave. We don't have to be on this
Let's
thing.
go then.
Let's fucking get out of here.
Let's go. We know the rules.
Hey, Linus, we're leaving.
Swim, bike, run, yeah? We're just going to swim, and then you've got a bike, and then you've got to run.
I wanted to grow a mullet. Sandra wouldn't let me.
I did for this.
I've got my phone on me, so
It's my
I'm going to change again.
neck protection. I remember running like pretty much when we were in Aromas. I remember going out and it was probably maybe a little bit hotter than this, just as many flies. And I remember getting about 2 kilometers into the run and thinking, oh my God, I feel like my heart's going to explode, I'm going to die. And then thinking, oh well, you wanted to be here, it's your own fault. It's just like, it didn't actually help me go any faster, it actually made me stop and walk. But
Just mentally.
mentally, I just wanted to punish myself for actually putting myself in that position.
You shut up.
No, you.
Ah well, you wanted to be here.
The goal prior to falling off the mountain bike was, I guess in my head I thought coming under 11 hours would be a fantastic goal, and I thought that would be very testing for me to do. But you know, to be honest, like I do want to get round and have fun, but I always in the back of the head, everyone's just like, oh, just don't put a time limit on your goal, otherwise you're going to hate it. And I'm just like, I can't help but think about the time. Like I'm sitting there thinking, I'm probably going to come through on the swim. Like originally I thought maybe the swim I'd come through about an hour, but to be realistic in the swims that I've done recently, maybe a little bit slower. And then the bike, very unsure. I came in at about 3 hours in Sufferfest, so I thought maybe 6 hours for the bike, but this is a good course and probably a better bike rider now, so maybe a bit less. And then the run, I'm just like, I've done a marathon before, but just in training for fun, and I came through it just under 4 hours. So I think if I could maybe notch them all up a little bit, I don't know, maybe I can go faster than my just under 11 hours. But then again, you never know what happens on the day, and you never know how you're going to feel. But to be honest, I want to get round, I want to have fun, but I want to push myself, and I'm able to push myself without any pain. So in terms of time, Maddie seems to believe I'll be around the 10-hour mark, but maybe he's got a lot of confidence in me, but I don't know. We'll see how we go. But you know, if I could come through, I think I'll be happy with under 11 hours. And I think I'll be stoked with under 10 hours. But if I get 12 hours and I get around, then that's okay too. And that just shows me where I'm at. And at the end of the day, if that's where I'm at, then I just have to train harder if I want to do better. Simple as that. And that's pretty much everything that I've ever done. If I haven't been stoked with my result and I like it enough, I'll work harder to make myself good at it.
Here we are 5.5 weeks later, and everything seems to be completely healed, and James is back to what I would probably consider to be peak fitness. He may not be where he was 6 weeks ago, but he's extremely close. And yeah, I guess the test will be the Ironman tomorrow, but I have full confidence that he's going to be able to do it really well. And I was very, concerned, and you know, when people would say to him, are you going to do the Ironman? I really liked his approach to that question, and that was, I'm not going to say yes and I'm not going to say no, because why would I say I'm not going to do it when I'd have no idea how I'm going to feel, and why would I say I am going to do it when I might not be able to do it? So I'm going to take it day by day, and if I arrive and I feel good, I'm going to do it. If I race and I feel bad, I'm going to pull out. So most people would say, oh, probably not, or yes, I'm definitely going to do it. But his approach was more just to take it day by day, and I think that's been really good for him because there's been no pressure.
Honestly, I don't think I've ever had anyone so supportive than Kayla, especially during the time when I broke my back. I told Kayla to go home from the hospital countless times, and she said, oh no, I want to be with you. Even to the point where I would be asleep for 4 or 5 hours in the hospital. I'd wake up and she's still sitting there, just ticking away on her phone just to see if I'm all right, and to make sure that, because I wouldn't normally ask the nurses to do anything, and she'll ask them for me, and she'll know when I'm uncomfortable, and I just don't want to ask, I don't want to create a drama. So having her there was, if I didn't have Kayla there to support me in no matter what I did, whether it was like the business or personal life or competing, I guarantee I wouldn't be in the same position today that I am now, and you know, competing well in CrossFit so far. And then also, you know, having the ability to go around and attempt things like this Ironman and have her by my side to do it too. I definitely wouldn't have healed as fast, that's for sure, because she looked after me the way I see it, she looked after me so well, I feel like it'd be such a hard task for me to replicate it, even though I've seen her do it like in the flesh. I just don't think I could do it as well. So yeah, I'm forever grateful for that.
It was just every day I'm going to do what I can, and I'm going to rock up there. He was going to come to support me anyway, so you know, whether or not he could compete or not, it wasn't really a big deal. But yeah, he's going to do it.
Can you sleep, bro?
I tried to get to sleep like when I first started, and I just couldn't sleep. But I ended up sleeping okay, I think. But it's 4 a.m, so I still feel, my head feels like it still wants to be not too bad. This is for the bike, so I'm just making up the bike models, which I'll put on there when I get there. And I was thinking too much. I've already got one on there at the moment, but that's part of the bike. And then this will be what I get stuck into as soon as I get on the bike.
I was doing the guys I feel good, everything will be awesome. Like, all my legs are sore, I don't know how to go.
Wow! Those copies are on.
Sam, you specimen, look at you. You ready to tackle the Ironman?
La 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 la. Look at that. He's capturing our shenanigans. So good.
Me and Sim were just talking about Thunderloos and stuff.
Just like real milk.
We did that. I think just chuck it out.
Who was that?
What? Just get the oats off first.
that well, it's not going to be for you.
Yeah, we're actually going to go in and watch the guys doing the 70.3 start. So we're getting there for 5:30 to watch them get in the water, and then we'll go pump our tyres up, make sure, like, do a final bike check just to make sure everything's there that we need, and then we get in the water at 7 a.m. So we're getting in early to support, and then we'll go do our bike check.
What the fuck, Western Australia?
It goes around your head.
I think like one goes there, like the other side.
The National Disability Insurance Scheme is the government's way of ensuring that.
So she
You're very quiet, bro. Are you nervous or tired?
I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm not so nervous. It's not like doing a CrossFit workout where it hurts straight away.
Yeah.
This will hurt in about 7 hours.
Yeah, James. Let's go, buddy. Let's go, bro.
Nick is bringing us cold water. You are a
Let's go, James! Great job, James!
Stephen Newman. Darren.
Yeah, James! Great job, James!
Have your all top age groupers around.
Let's go, James! Yeah, James! Oh, he looks good.
Good, buddy.
Good job, James.
Alright, this is the fifth fittest man in the world with the James Newbury.
Yeah, James!
First guy, buddy. You are Yeah, buddy.
Oh, man.
Rough as. I'm just gonna have to lie down.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Unexplainable.
Jeez. Yeah.
What point did it start to...
Oh, about 20 k's to go.
Oh, man. You reckon you can get up these stairs?
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah, hold on to my arm.
How about them pins? That was horrendous. Well done.
Hey!
Well done.
When's your next one, mate?
One and done. Far out.
Was it?
Oh.
Do you want to take
Oh yeah. The run by far. My hammies, calves, hip flexors. Oh.
Take my hands. Nah. Yes, Im.
Yes, Im. Yes, Im.
I just feel so fresh.
Yeah. Don't do it, it's a trap.
Yeah?
It's a massive trap. Nah, definitely do it. It's like, it's a test. It's a test of will.
I bet.
Oh, man. The bike was good, yeah. Thank you.
Swim as well, though, wasn't it?
Oh,
Swim is
I could have
legit.
just done that for 5 hours instead.
You know what time you got?
Probably, I didn't start right at the start, so I would say maybe 4 minutes after, so maybe like 10:20.
Yeah, I think it was like 10:15 or something.
10:14.
Yeah, but I didn't start right at the start.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, well 10:14.
that's such a good time, babe.
Oh my god.
Can I get you anything?
Nah, I'm good, thank you. Thanks, girl. How'd you guys go? You have a blast? Super fun?
Cyril came and sat down for a yarn before.
I bet he did.
Yeah,
He actually is doing real. He crushed the ride. When he was coming around,
every time he gets
when he came around, I was like, dude, you are flying. And then he yelled something really obnoxious at me, and I said, I'm not talking to you for the rest of the fucking run. Fifth fittest man in the world. He charges for autographs. So I was like, that's it. Talk's over.
Yeah.
You're done. Oh my god. So much cramp.
Or a 4-year-old. I don't know. Yeah.
So much cramp. I was so surprised you guys this morning. Each of you.
Go for it, babe. Way down. Lay yourself down to the ground.
Oh my god. That feels so good.
He's being silly, isn't he?
Oh my god. I've literally been waiting to do this for about 25 Ks.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Get your shoes off, James.
Oh, yeah. I'll get them off. You want them off, Don?
Yes, please. Yeah, just pull them.
Yeah, I was going to say they're hanging by a thread.
Yeah,
Socks off?
no, my feet are going to be trash. No one will want to look at them. I made a big mistake in the run as well. I came out 4:15 Ks.
Yeah,
For about 3 Ks, I was like, what are you doing? Oh, what are you
Everyone
doing?
does that though.
Yeah.
You like running.
I was
soaking it all up.
just like, oh no, I'm going at a really easy pace.
Yeah.
Heart rate was 121. I'm just like, no, this is great.
Yeah.
And then there was this girl in front of me. I'm just gonna sit on this chick's tail. This feels really comfy. Matty White says, hey man, you need to slow down.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Matty White said that.
He goes, if you hold this, you're coming in at like 305. And I'm just like, yeah, I can hold this. I didn't hold that.
Make sure you get in a good groove. I've done that way.
Hey, darling, come on. Down.
Yeah.
You right?
Oh, but then again, my shoes on that corner of the queue.
Oh my god.
Let me shit last way. Your body's like shaking.
Who are you talking about?
Who are you talking about? Who's on the queue? It's going to shut down on me.
Oh my god.
Only 4 hours and we in Bali.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if I should say this or not, because if Castro hears it, he's going to wreck us. But that was much harder than any games event we've ever done. For sure.
I don't think he could program an Ironman.
It was grueling. The cramp factor though was the same in the marathon rows. That was maybe a touch worse, but.
How did the swim feel? The water looked amazing.
Oh, the best.
Yeah.
So good. I could have done another loop.
Yeah.
The swim, 100%. It was. I sat on a blue cap for half of it, and then I sat on a purple cap for the next half, the whole time. I didn't lead at any point. I just sat in someone's wake.
I thought a purple cap was like a term for like, you know, white caps in water. I'm like, what's a purple cap? But it's an athlete.
Bike was great. There were parts that I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
But all in all, like I wanted to get off at about 140 Ks.
Yeah.
I was like, I could get off now. The run I wanted to get off. At 16 Ks, it started getting a bit nippy. And then at 24 Ks, it started really setting in. Maddie's like, it's about to set in. I'm just like, mate, it's set in. He's like, give it another 8 more kilometers and it's going to get pinchy. I'm just like, mate, my hamstrings are already cramping. Yes, Sam?
Yeah, Simmy! Alright.
You guys get out of the way.
I'm back.
You want to lie down for a bit?
It's my rhomboids.
Yeah.
Decent pace, like, and she was going for like a small, like.
Any signs of your lung or your ribs or your back?
Nah, my back feels fine. Ribs, lungs feel great. The only thing that was really like hampering my speed was just heavy legs, like the heaviest legs I ever felt.
His back's spasming a bit now though, which could be due to the fact that he's just done an Ironman, or could be like residual muscular tightness from the break.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I would say the swim was amazing. The water was so clear, and it was probably only, how deep do you reckon it was, Scott? Maybe like 7 foot? 8 foot?
That's so nice.
So it was beautiful. You could see the bottom the whole way. It wasn't choppy. You could just sit in someone's wake and just ride their wake.
I accept that.
And then the bike was great. Like, it felt real nice. Didn't push the pace too hard. It held 217 watts for the whole thing. I was at 230 watts, 231 watts for the first 90, and then overall 217 average. And then for the run, I took out at like 4:15 kilometers, which wasn't probably a great idea, but
when you feel good, you feel good.
I held that for maybe like 6 or 7 Ks, and then I knocked it back to like 5:05s. Did a 151 for my first half, and then did a 4-hour total. It was like 4 hours and 11 seconds or something like that. If I didn't stop at the aid station, I probably would have got under 4 hours.
Don't jump up here.
But yeah, so that was a little bit slower, but that's fine. I held off the Coke the whole way. Every time they're just like, Coke, I'm like, nah, I want it so bad, but nah. And I pissed myself on the run too. Like, I need to pee. And I peed, and it lasted maybe 90 seconds. Someone behind me was like, what's that? And it was everywhere.
Oh, while you were running?
Yeah.
Everyone was weird, right?
Yeah. You have to. He pissed himself.
Oh, mate, you should have seen how much came out. I was embarrassed.
I don't know what
My feet are fucked.
Yeah, I don't know what we should do, like, in terms of waiting for the guys.
Oh, we should wait for him. Oh,
You alright?
100% we should wait for him. Like, that'd be the worst thing in the world, getting back and not meeting him.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
We need to wait.
Well, I wasn't sure if someone wanted to drive, if you wanted to go home with someone and I waited for them. I'm happy to wait.
I could do some hot chips.
Okay, I can get you some chips.
Yeah. Thank you.
I can buy you some hot ones though. Here's the water if you need it.
Thanks.
Mila, I need to take it.
That's all I was thinking. That's all I was thinking. I was just like,
get me to today.
Get me to Bali, please. I just want to lay down and do nothing for a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, it actually felt very similar to my first half. Obviously not as long, but it felt similar in terms of not, maybe like if that was a 10, the half would have been an 8.5, just because I didn't train for the half at all. I just did it on a whim. But my legs felt just as heavy, but not as crampy. The last 3Ks felt like 10.
Oh yeah.
I was just like, and I was with this old guy, and he was holding like 6-minute Ks, and I was at 6-minute Ks for like the last 3. I'm excited to go to Bali and fast for 7 days. That's for sure. Sleep, fast, massage, cold plunge, sauna.
And then you've done like 4 or 5 days.
If you want it bad enough, you'll make it happen. And if you're not prepared to make a move that's uncomfortable and maybe out of your comfort zone, then don't expect great results. Simple as that. If you want to do an Ironman, just don't stop until it's done.